Morning. Welcome to our short kind of webinar on preventing burnout in sports clubs. My name is Marie Graham, and I'm going to be presenting this session. So in terms of what we're going to cover, the aim is to increase the understanding of volunteer burnout and provide practical wellbeing tools for sports clubs. The objectives are to understand burnout, recognise the signs, explore the club life cycle, protect well-being, overcome barriers, and build supportive cultures. And our real goal is around club sustainability. And clubs often at the startup phase have lots of enthusiastic kind of volunteers and they go through a quick expansion. But what quite quickly happens is an over-reliance on key volunteers, which certainly for a time is sustainable. But over time, this actually results in a lot of pressure and overload on a few people. This can then result in volunteer drop-off. And at which point, clubs are often thinking, can we carry on? Can we manage? And sometimes, despite kind of asking for new volunteers, no one comes forward because often people are just relying on the same people to keep going. However, if it becomes clear that a club is really struggling and the members value that club, you will often get a resurgence of new volunteers, which then will create recovery and change. But sometimes that does involve taking a little bit of a gamble because it is about going out to people and saying we cannot sustain the club unless more people come forwards. And then we are relying on people who value the club and what it does for their children, for themselves, to actually come forward and getting involved at this point. So and healthy clubs do share the responsibility and support volunteers sustainably. So do you recognise this cycle? Where is your club up to? And I would encourage you at this point just to kind of pause the video and think about this for a second. Where are you up to in this cycle? So we're here today to talk about burnout. Here's a lovely picture of the neural networkings in the brain. So what do we mean by burnout? And burnout is something that develops over a long period when chronic stress is not successfully managed. We can tell it is burnout by people starting to feel physically and emotionally exhausted. One of the behaviours that can be observed is increasingly detached, negative, or cynical about work. And it may be that people have reduced confidence, motivation, and a sense of achievement in what they're doing. On a personal level, it may be that you feel that no matter how hard you work, it is never enough. So let's talk a little bit now about the stress bucket. So what is the stress bucket? And the idea is that if we put too much in and not enough out, we can get an overflow. And this is not just limited to what is happening in your club. Yeah, we are thinking that this could be things that's happening in the rest of your life as well. So it can be workload, it can be time pressure, it can be poor sleep, there may be health issues at home. They just made too much to do. And unless we actually put a number of holes in the bottom of the bucket of things that can actually relieve this stress, then the bucket overflows. And that's when we have burnout. And across the bottom, we've put a number of things there that really help people to manage stress. So exercise, time outdoors, rest, talking to other people, doing things you enjoy, and mindfulness. But there may be others that you could find that you can put in there. So again, I'd like you to just kind of pause for a moment and think about what are the stresses that you encounter in running a sports club. And again, we're just going to have a look at here around some of those kind of signs of burnout. So reduced reliability, maybe social withdrawal, avoidance of tasks, cynicism and negativity, loss of enjoyment, irritability and frustration, and feelings of overwhelm. And you may be able to think of some others. So how do we prevent burnout, both personally and as a club? And we have kind of two kind of headings here. And one is about rest and recovery, and another one is about setting boundaries. And these can be done at a personal level and at a club level. And for the best effects, we want these done at a club level, ensuring that everybody is supported. So rest and recovery. Personally ensuring that you have time off, doing restful, unrelated and enjoyable activities. As a club, you may kind of instigate off-season club-wide operational breaks where all non-essential administration just stops and everyone has a break. That includes email communications and meetings. So nobody feels under pressure to do club-related stuff during that time unless it's urgent. Have a policy where high-stress volunteering positions have fixed terms followed by lighter duties period. And designate specific weeks, even during the competitive season, where standard training or committee duties are scaled back to the minimum to allow collective breathing room. In terms of setting boundaries, we can establish digital communication curfews. Club-related messages via WhatsApp, Slack, or email should only occur within certain hours, so people are not getting messages sort of like at 10 o'clock at night or midnight. Build a culture where it's okay to say no to additional tasks to protect your own well-being. And on a personal level, make sure that if you feel that you're feeling that strain, that you do actually kind of set some limits. Sharing responsibilities. Personally, you may need to delegate. And to delegate effectively, you need to be clear on what you want somebody to do, what permissions they need to ask you, and with time frames that you want them to do them in. But do ask for help. Adopt micro-volunteering as a club. So break large, intimidating jobs into bite-sized pieces with time-bound tasks for those who want to help but can't give a huge amount of time. Perhaps have co-chairs, pair individuals up to share critical roles so the club functions seamlessly if one person takes holiday or falls ill. And lastly, patting yourself on the back for the work that you do. Acknowledge the invisible work publicly. Organise host dedicated volunteer socials. Well, these are social events for people who are volunteers. They're not the volunteers organising a social event for everyone else. This is about the volunteers organising a little bit of a get together where just they have some time off. Yeah, and if you share that organising. You might even ask the regular club members, do they want to organise a little kind of thank you for the volunteers? On a personal level, often some of the things that stop people from kind of like stepping back or saying no is things like guilt. I should be doing more. There's also a feel of letting people down. What will people think of me if I stop? Or a fear that no one else will do it. The whole system relies on me. And certainly we need to be fighting those feelings ourselves. And if we are really in that situation where if you don't do it, things are going to fall apart or nobody else will pick it up, then really we need to be looking at how the club's volunteering programme is structured to make sure that we're not in those situations. Yeah, and definitely start putting some of the responsibility onto club members, not just the committee or the existing volunteers. We talked earlier on about the stress bucket and the kind of things that can actually help people. And some of the things that we know can help people are regular exercise, healthy diets, adequate sleep, and making sure that we get support systems. And then at the bottom of that, mindfulness and relaxation. And I would encourage you to perhaps look at your local Minds website for some details of mindfulness and relaxation. Um, and also there's lots of apps, for example, Calm or Headspace that can encourage kind of mindfulness meditations and relaxation. So do think about the kind of things that will help you in your lifestyle. There are some useful links for support. So Buddle is a website that's been commissioned by Sport England that helps sports clubs manage their volunteers and their workload. You've also got guidance and support through Sport England itself. You have if you're in the kind of Tameside, Oldham, Glossop, Stockport area, here's a link to that website. And we've also put the National Mind website up here as well. Sometimes your local authority sports development team can offer support, and please do not forget GM Moving, who's actually put on this event. And on top of that, you think about what are the links for support within your local area, because you will know places you can get support locally as well. So that's the end of our short presentation today. Originally, this was going to be done as an interactive webinar, which would have been much longer, but at least I'm hoping you're going to get some of the information from this short presentation that will be useful to you. So thank you very much for listening to me and taking this time out.